Hey everyone, Alex Telander here, and welcome to the Ostium Sagas. Now, if you're enjoying this series and want more right away, I just wanted to mention that you can get them on our Ostium Network Patreon at patreon.com/ostiumpodcast. By becoming a supporter at any level, you'll instantly get access to the next 15 episodes in the series. So that's on our Patreon at patreon.com/ostiumpodcast. Now, I'd just like to thank our 5 most recent patrons for supporting the Ostium Network. Thank you to Death to Komatsu, Daryl Williamson, Descripticon, Virginia Green, and Talon for all your support. We really appreciate it. And now let's get started with the next chapter of the Ostium Sagas. The Ostium Sagas. Saga 2, 1666. Reporter's Endnote, Part 2. Okay, before we move on and get stuck into Ostium Saga number 3, which I know you're all very anxious to do, and honestly I am too, but we have another important topic to talk about first, and that's the next installment of our conversation with one Professor Harcourt. You know, the bloke I've been in touch with via Zhang's bit of nifty audio software known as Quantum Oral. Yeah, the guy I'm more than suspecting, but am now pretty sure is in fact a bona fide member of the Conclave. Oh, that Professor Harcourt. You mean Larry to his friends? Yes, now you're catching my drift. I know it's been a while, but there's a lot of new stuff to tell. Also, I don't know if he goes by Larry with his friends. He just seems too stuffy and curmudgeonly for it. If he even has friends, for that matter. Doesn't really seem that type either. But if he does, they'd probably call him the Professor, or Prof, or even Dr. Harcourt, because, yes, he is in fact that formal. You know, based on the many interactions I've had with him, and I now know him so well. And yes, I'm being sarcastic in case you can't tell. And what you have without right saying the name, and hinting at who I thought he might be, and he responds with not wanting to give too much away just yet, but leaving some clues making it clear he knew what I was talking about, and then playing his hand with a bold chess move, to mix metaphors for a second, because it was a bloody good and outright shocking reference I wasn't expecting from him. He made an allusion to the slim volume. Yes, that would be the slim volume consisting of the second Ostium Saga, which we just finished reading and listening to. In using those words too, slim volume, it makes my thoughts go in multiple directions at once. Is he directly referencing the Ostium Sagas book, as I kind of was? And by mentioning the small book he would know about through the introduction and words of the author of the Ostium Sagas. Alternatively, it's possible he might have either come across or be in possession of the actual slim volume, which we now know to be Dana Lee's journal. Or I suppose it could be all of the above also, if Professor Harcourt is in fact a member of the Conclave. The Conclave should still, presumably, be in possession of both these volumes, no? Although there is the mystery of the copy I have and how it ended up being buried in that church. Oh, and sorry, going to go on a bit of a random tangent here, because when I mentioned Dana Lee's journal, it jogged my memory about something I wanted to talk about, but forgot to in the previous installment. And that's how the little Ostium did send Dana's journal somewhere, right? If it had just fallen to the ground or nothing had happened, then Dana probably would have done another entry about it. But that's beside the point, because it clearly didn't go through the door into the future, and ended up back in Ostium for the Ostium Network to find. It was transported back into the past, into the 12th century as memory serves, and eventually discovered by the Conclave and kept safe and secure for centuries, until it ends up in the Ostium Sagas, which ends up in my hands. What a truly insane series of events over an immense expanse of time. Also, how did this Ostium come into being? Was it really something instigated by the Ostium Network? Why would they want to send things back in time? Or was it perhaps originally intended to work just as Dana and Robert had hoped, to send them back to Ostium? Back when the events of history were irrevocably changed and all of London burned to the ground, did this mess with the, I don't know, let's say the temporal source code of Ostium, and caused it to instead divert the Ostium from the town back to the 12th century in a complete random event? Has anything like this ever happened before? I don't know. We don't know of anything like it, and I've asked Zhang and they say they have no record of any instance akin to this one. Could it even be something the evil Jake Fisher, head wanker at the very top of the Ostium Network, knew would happen in some way, and was more than thrilled at the chance and possibilities that their lives would be sacrificed in the process? Who knows? Maybe one day we will, maybe no. Anyway, sorry for that long-winded tangent, but all those thoughts were bouncing around inside my head like a bunch of colourful fireworks on Guy Fawkes night. Remember, the 5th of November and all that. So getting back to Professor Harcourt, I had a deep think about what our next move should be with him, and talked it over with Zhang, and the result was this quantum oral message I sent him. To lharcourt@marquette.edu from stevechase@hotmail.com. Subject: The slim volume laid open. Dear Mr. Harcourt, thank you for your recent message. It is clear we have a lot in common to talk about, and I know we're both essentially beating around the bush right now, or to pick an American expression I've heard Mum use, we're stuck in a holding pattern. So I'm going to come out and make the first bold move and use yet another expression, lay one of my cards on the table. Not all the cards, mind you, just one of them. But I will say this is one of the face cards, so please find attached with this message a recording I made of a text I decrypted and read aloud. I present to you the slim volume in a way you've never seen it before. Best regards, Steve Chase.